Welcome to Bridal Owner Success Stories. I'm your host, Mindy Linscomb, founder of Bridal Owner Success School, also known as BOSS. Each episode of this podcast, we will dive deep into hearing the stories of successful bridal shop owners, uncovering their biggest challenges and their valuable life lessons. I can't wait for you to get to know them as well. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. It's Mindy Linscomb, your host of the Bridal Owner Success Stories podcast. And so I have a boss with me right now that I'm so proud of. She is a good friend of mine because she has been in my coaching for almost 5 years. I'm just incredibly honored to know her as a colleague and as a friend. This is Jennifer Hinman of Cloud9 Bridal in Peoria, Illinois. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Glad to have you
Good
today.
to be here.
I just want to hear your story a little bit and have other people get to hear how amazing your story really is, because I think there's probably other people that have fallen into bridal not how they planned.
Yeah.
Like you probably did too. So how did you even fall into bridal? Because before you owned, you were a stylist.
Right.
So how did you fall into becoming a bridal stylist? Because it's not a career that's very common.
Right. So yeah, my story's a little different. Back a long way back, like 2007, I had no job and I was just looking for a job, and a big box store was hiring and I needed a full-time job. So you can assume what that big box store was. And I just went and found a job there. I worked full-time and I fell in love with helping brides find their dream dress, but I knew it could be different. Like I was helping 2 brides at a time, putting all my dresses away. And I knew helping 2 brides at a time wasn't giving them the best service. So I knew it could be different. Fast forward, I met somebody working there, and she wanted to open her own bridal shop. And I knew that it wasn't the right time for me to invest. I just didn't feel right about it. But I went with her and worked for her. And things just didn't work out there. And then I got recruited by the owner of where I am now, of Cloud9. And I worked part-time at Cloud9 from 2013 until I bought it in 2018. But I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with making a difference in people's lives in a way I didn't know was needed.
That's awesome. So, I mean, really, you did get the bug because you've been in it maybe 20 years, not just as an owner, but
Time.
I'm just saying you got the bug. You loved it so much and then eventually owned your own. And I love that she was probably thinking, when it's time to retire, Jen's my girl, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about that for just a second. When you went to buy it, did she approach you?
She did. So I mean, it's crazy because I worked Saturday, Sunday. I was a Saturday, Sunday girl. I worked full time at a big bank in the area. So I worked full time. I was a single mom. Worked full time, and then I worked part time on Saturday, Sundays. My son, 18, would have been 8 at the time that I bought Cloud9. But from 2013 to then, he would come with me on Sundays. Saturdays, I had a babysitter because it was crazy. But on Sundays, he would come with me and sit in she was okay with it. He would sit in the office in the back while I worked part-time, and I threatened him with his life if he came out on the sales floor. That. So he has grown up in bridal too, even though I wasn't the owner back then. Like he just.
So when she said to you, hey, I want to retire, I want to sell my shop, were you just like, okay, let's figure it out? Or did you have some hesitation?
So she has actually approached me twice. So in 2017, she came to me, and I was a single mom, and I was like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think it's the right time. And she was still unsure that she was ready to sell. So fast forward a year later, she came to me and I said, yeah, I think I'm ready. At the time I was in a relationship, and I approached that person and I was like, will you take care of me if I fail? And he was like, yeah. And since I've moved on from that, but
you didn't fail.
No, I didn't fail.
You didn't need that relationship.
No, I didn't. And so here
Liz was like,
Yep.
So
Yeah.
you just, I mean, you were so successful when you took it over, but it's not like you didn't know what you were getting into. You were unlike a lot of other people that maybe buy a bridal shop and they have no idea what they don't know.
Right.
You definitely knew the day to day, at
I
least.
knew.
Maybe you didn't know the books, but you knew the day to day. So how did you guys determine what to buy it for? Did she just give you a price and then you said, "Hey, that sounds good," or how did you do that?
She did. So her family, so her in-laws own a big business in the area. Um, and so she did all of her books for her. So they came up with the price together, and honestly, it was a really reasonable price. It was big for me being um having nothing. It was a big dollar for me. So I did borrow the amount from three different people. Um, two people, one was my mom. My mom cashed in her 401k to help me out, a big chunk of her 401k. And my grandma took um, a lot of money, a little bit bigger of an amount, um, and donated to me. Eventually, she told me she was letting me borrow it, but it ended up being she gave it to me a few years later. She just gifted it to me a few years later, which was great. And then I couldn't come up with the rest, so there was another another third essentially that I couldn't come up with, and so I came to Rachel was the previous owner. And I came to her and I said, I just don't know what to do. So she went to her mother-in-law, and so her mother-in-law actually loaned me the rest. Um, and she said, because they all believed in me, and I don't know why or how. I mean, I think they saw my sales and they knew my passion for it and they knew I could do it. I still don't know why she loaned me the money. Her contingency was that she did my books until I paid her back. And I paid her back in 8 months. So,
For one third.
yeah, I paid her back in 8 months.
Did you pay yourself during those 8 months?
I did because I didn't have a choice.
It was your only job.
It was my only income, so I had to pay myself. I
So
paid
you were
myself
able to
in
pay
total.
yourself and pay her the third in eight
Yeah,
months.
yes.
Did you let her keep doing your books?
So, funny story. My bookkeeper to this day is the person who did my books there. She has since left. She doesn't work for her anymore. She works for a different company, but she does still do my books. So,
That's
I,
amazing.
yeah, I,
And then I'm sure you were very quick and resourceful at paying your mom back too. And,
yep.
just getting ahead of it and just saying, hey, we're going to do this.
Yeah, I think my mom was paid back I think within a year after that. So,
It's amazing. It's
yeah.
amazing. And now you're on to huge things,
Yes.
big, big dreams. You're, expanding like crazy and looking at what's ahead for your company. And I mean, I've just seen you double since we started talking. And it's amazing to see what the right person in the right fit, in the right role. You are an amazing leader to see what
Mm,
you've done. It's phenomenal. People need to
thank
definitely
you.
check out your business. Running a successful bridal shop can be challenging, but with the right support, it can also be incredibly rewarding. Hi, I'm Mindy Linscomb, founder of Bridal Owner Success School, aka Boss. After 17 years in the bridal industry, I've developed proven strategies that drive both positivity and profitability in your business. Through Boss, you'll receive insightful coaching, time-tested frameworks, and a community of bridal shop owners dedicated to helping each other succeed. Ready to boost your profitability and find more energy in your business? Visit bridalownersuccess.com and sign up for Boss today. Here's a few other questions for you. What do you wish you knew when you
Mm.
bought it that you didn't know?
Taxes.
Hey, that's a good one.
Yeah, like taxes, everything on the accounting side, I still don't understand all of it. And that's something I knew everything. So at the previous place I worked, I did all the ordering. Like I understand all of that. I understand the ordering. I understand selling. I understand buying because I've done all of that. It's the other side of it that I have no idea. And I've led before. I've always been in a leadership role. I'm very much an achiever. So I've always been in a leadership role anywhere I've worked. So I understand every other aspect. So when it came to the finances and that side of it, I talk to my accountant sometimes. I'm like, huh? So
Yeah.
that I almost feel like you need a college degree sometimes for that. But I'm glad I have people that do understand that and that
Well,
can.
and I think that when you say taxes, I think I had no idea how much of what we make goes toward taxes.
Ugh,
It's
right,
just, it's crazy the amount. Well, it looks like you are doing so great, and you're like, look at how good of a business we have, but such a huge percentage of what you make
yeah,
goes to taxes. And I think that's a big surprise for entrepreneurs.
it's hard to watch.
It is
That,
hard to watch for
yeah.
sure. Okay, now this one's a little bit harder. What would you say is a mistake you've made that was pretty big, a pretty big mistake that you're like, ooh, you learned from it, but it was painful, whether it was a leadership mistake, a
Mm,
investment mistake, I mean, I've heard stories about people losing their whole team because of a mistake they made. I mean, crazy
mm.
things. What's a pretty big mistake you've made that you've learned from, and maybe you can save someone else from making it, that you can finally laugh about now? And maybe it's still hard to laugh.
Hmm, that's a good one. I would probably say that. So we did a big our renovation. So we started out as a 2-room boutique when I bought Cloud9, and now we're in a bigger space. Well, when we renovated this bigger space, I thought, oh, I'm gonna I'm gonna hire somebody I know. I didn't interview other contractors. I was just like, oh, I know this guy. I'm just going to give him the job. He came in with a super low bid. Red flag. I know now that that was a red flag. And my space is gorgeous and I love it, but there's so many things now I look in here every day that I see that I would change. So it's still not quite laughable. It is. But
Because you're still living in it.
yeah, and there's things that I notice that nobody else notices. But yeah, there's
Yeah.
things that I
So
would change.
what's the lesson learned? To hire who?
Well, at least get more than one bid. And at least just make sure that you you get you just make an educated decision
On anything,
on
probably. Not
anything.
just, yes, not just.
Not that he did a bad job. My space is beautiful. Like, I want to preface that. My space is beautiful, but there were just a couple corners cut and then just some arguments about money at the end that could
Could have
have
been
been.
avoided.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, and now that we know your team's doing great and you're expanding and all the thing, what are the different positions you have in your team?
So I just lost a manager not too long ago and I have not replaced her. So she was an operations manager. So I've taken on some of that for the time being. Because I'm not sure I want to replace that role quite yet. We're feeling
Yeah.
it out. But I do have a customer service manager. She handles, I want to call her sales customer service manager. So she does everything with my team. She does our one-on-ones. She handles any customer service issues. She's on the sales floor. She's usually top in our rotation. So she's taking brides too. And that is why she's our sales manager. She is usually the best of the best on the sales floor, and she's making the
She's
big
good at
bucks.
it.
Yeah, she's really good at
Okay,
it.
so you have a sales manager, and then you have, I'm assuming, bridal stylist.
Yep, we have bridal stylists, a couple full time, a bunch of part time. We have lots of Saturday girls. We have a tuck specialist, and then we have homecoming and prom girls. Uh, we're going to be hiring a lot with our new store coming, and then we have a prom. Well, we have a social media manager. She's also my prom manager.
Okay, very cool. And so, do you feel like it's taken you a bit to kind of get those roles in place and clarity
Mhm.
around that?
For sure, for sure.
but now it feels like, okay, everybody knows what's expected of them. Like
Yes,
it takes a lot of the blurriness out of their job, right?
for sure. I think going through and just listing out what everybody's expectations are and making sure the whole team knows what everybody's expectations are. I think having it all in black and white makes it obvious what everybody's supposed to be
Yeah,
doing
and
and
they can work
everything.
together better knowing who does what. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. So if you were to write a book about the adventure and journey of being a bridal shop owner, what would the title of it be and why?
Hmm.
What would it be about?
Hmm. I think it would be about, I don't know what the title would be. I'd have to think harder on that one, but it would definitely be about the emotional roller coaster that is in the bridal industry. Just, I mean, the ups and downs of the economy, even. Because this year for sure has been weird. Like, I feel like up until this year, it's been super predictable what the income's going to be. I've never not hit a goal. And this year, I've missed a few goals, which is hard for my ego. And just it's weird to predict, where it's going to go. Um, and so I think that is probably a lot what it would be on, but also managing people and different personalities, just like dealing with the everyday of all of the people and everything being thrown at you.
It's
Maybe,
very up and down. Like it is an emotional roller coaster.
yeah.
What do you do to manage that, Jen? How do you keep yourself steady? Because you're a mom, you're a single mom, and you manage a team. And you're right, the economy is not dependable. Nothing's dependable. Prices for our wholesale of our products are not dependable. Traffic, the amount of customers coming in, what they're looking to do, none of it is consistent.
Hmm.
And it's, if anything's consistent, is change. Change is consistent for us.
Right.
It's always changing. Every day is changing. So how do you handle that? The pressure of it. Some people can't take it, which is why they're probably not an entrepreneur. But how do you handle the pressures of it? What do you do to keep yourself, regulated?
There's two things. One, I have regular devotions I do every morning, and I pray for my business every day. The second thing is I've learned to embrace change. And my girls know I come in half the time with, you guys, I have an idea, and they're like, oh gosh. But I've just learned to embrace it, and they're learning. My long timers have the original Cloud9 girls have very much learned to embrace change with me. But you can't be afraid of change in this industry. And you just got to learn to roll with the punches. If you get too upset about it or too in your head about it, it's not gonna bode well for you.
It's true. It's true. And I think something that's helped me is to try to leave it at the shop, right?
For
It's
sure.
like
Yeah.
so easy to carry that
Yeah.
into everything else you do, but as much as possible, leave it, and then
Yeah.
come back to it tomorrow.
Yes.
That's so good. Well, thank you for being interviewed on this show. I
Thank
feel
you.
like your story is one that we can all learn from, but also be inspired by because, like, you figured out a way to buy a business that wasn't even in your budget and on your radar. And so, for somebody who's like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business, but they have no money, no assets, no support, I mean, no partner. I mean, you just literally are a true, you're living the American dream. And I'm just so proud to know you and to hear your story. So thank you, Jen, for
Thank
sharing.
you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. All right. Well, if you enjoy this episode, definitely check out Bridal Owner Success Stories podcast, and we will be bringing more episodes to you soon. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Bridal Owner Success Stories. I hope you found some inspiration and encouragement for your own career in the bridal industry. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. We are in this together.